Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to turn to Susanne Tarkowski Tempelhof. She is the founder and CEO of BITNATION. Suzanne, welcome to the Keiser Report.
Thank you very much, Max.
All right, so does BITNATION, is this what it sounds like? You're doing a nation on the blockchain?
That is right, yeah. I mean, just like Bitcoin, if you look at Bitcoin, they just provide a better alternative to fiat currencies, right? And we are doing the same with governance services. We just provide the same services a normal government provides, but we do it better and cheaper and more fair in a distributed and voluntary way, mainly through using the blockchain technology. Right, so when people talk about Bitcoin 2.0, they talk about how the blockchain technology can be used in other ways. To disintermediate, is the word of the year, I suppose. And you can do this to get in contracts onto the blockchain. You can put deeds onto the blockchain, so it's a permanent record. It gets rid of all the lawyers involved, and you can take companies public, gets rid of the bankers. So you've taken it to the ultimate step. You're saying, why not just create a nation? It's called BITNATION. It's on the blockchain. Everything a government would do, it's on the blockchain. So how do I become a citizen of BITNATION? Well, you just use our services, essentially. There's no entry requirements. Anybody all over the world, regardless of where they're born or where they live, can use our services. We think it's a weird idea that just because you happen to be randomly born in a specific geographic area, you should only be able to choose one governance service provider, which is the nation state, right? Yeah. And also, I mean, the code is forkable, so everybody can fork the code, create their own BITNATION. Okay, so in other words, within the BITNATION paradigm, I could create BITNATION Keiser and create my own country. Exactly. But it's a fork of your BITNATION, the primary source code, I guess you could say. That's right. And so I could then set up all the documents I need to create a nation state. No, not a nation state, but a nation. So a blockchain state. A blockchain state. Yeah. A blockchain state. Yeah. So now I'm reading that there's so many thousands and thousands of Americans are getting rid of their passport, their American passport, for a variety of reasons. Mostly they don't like the political bombing of countries for the benefit of a few defense contractors, yes, the imaginary existential terror threats that are made up on a daily basis, and the fact that banks around the world treat Americans as terrorists. So they are giving their passports back to the State Department. Does BITNATION, on the blockchain nation, is there something equivalent to a passport? Well, we have something we call BitPassport, which is an ID system that is based on both verification and reputation, reputation being the most important component of it. So essentially, it's a little bit like Bitcoin, so the definition of a passport is a travel document, and you won't be able to use it to actually travel because it won't be recognized by the nations, but unless it reaches critical mass adoption, right? So just like Bitcoin wasn't recognized as money until enough people use it as money, the same goes with BitPassport. So that would seem like a good goal, is to get enough adoption to make it so that the recognition of a BITNATION passport, can be used to travel. It seems that as these countries get into increasingly more difficulty, they're going to be looking for ways to make themselves more attractive. Now, do citizens of BITNATIONs have any obligations to the community? If I'm a citizen of a BITNATION, do I have any obligations? No. None. Not at all? No. So there's no taxes? No, I mean, you just pay for the services, and if you want one service, you pay for one service. If you want a package, you pay for a package. I mean, if I'm attacked by existential terrorist threats, I'm living in a cave somewhere, does BITNATION have a military to come and defend me? No, we don't have a military. We do offer security services, though. So in the initial stage, what we're going to do is more sort of, the blockchain is going to help to organize vigilante type of neighborhood security. Organize vigilantes? Yeah, exactly. Like community-based vigilantes, right? Voluntary community-based vigilantes. And they would be going after people who are trying to who abuse the blockchain in some way, or? No, I mean just like normal security in a neighborhood, right? Like, let's say this neighborhood, you can have like a network of people who live here, and through the reputation system, they can get tipped whenever they help out.
Okay,
right?
so like in America now, they have local community. They're not formally cops, they're like community protection
Correct.
folks, and they do
Yeah.
have quasi-cop-like status. So now,
Correct. I mean, in the future, we may move towards actually having security contractors, but that is sort of very far away and abstract at the moment.
okay. So at the moment,
Yeah.
I think it's what BITNATION.com is the address.
.co.
Okay, .co.
Yeah.
So BITNATION.co is up and running. You're going to have a currency as well.
No, we don't have a currency. So we have crypto equity called XPN. So essentially, it's not an altcoin and it's not a token to be used inside the system. It only pays dividends. That's the one and only purpose of XPN. So people can.
How do you spell that?
XPN. So
Oh, XPN.
BN.
XBN.
Yeah. So,
Okay, that's the equity. It's a crypto equity.
correct.
And if I remember correctly from what I read, you're going to sell essentially 10%
Yes.
of this enterprise, BITNATION.co.
Yes.
And it's a crypto equity, XBN, and so folks have equity in the thriving BitNation being rolled out. Now,
That's correct.
There's
Yeah.
other people that are involved in similar things. For example, there's an attempt to create on the oil rig that's floating in the middle of the ocean. Somebody.
Sealand. Yes.
Sealand.
Yeah. that is
Okay,
correct.
so it's on an oil rig. It's independent. It's in international waters. So the customers of Sealand could be a customer of BitNation.
It could, yeah. I mean, BitNation could also be used as sort of local management system,
So they could
But-
outsource their paperwork essentially for everything they do day to day to your enterprise over at Sealand. Now, what about?
Absolutely, yeah.
Let me ask you about another.
But BitNation is DIY governance fundamentally. So we try to sell directly to people rather than to cities or to like Sealand type of organizations, right? So it's more like if you're a fruit vendor in Indonesia, or if you're, living in the favela in Rio, you can just download the apps and do it yourself, right?
If I were living in the UK, and let's say I'm upset with my current government, let's say 1 million people in the UK join BitNation.co, and they create essentially a virtual nation. Everything a nation would do, they are participating. All the bills that go through the House of Commons, there's a parallel flow through this web environment, through this virtual environment, and people are voting on it, and it generates a parallel outcome that is now being used politically by the establishment. So they'll say, if they go to a political conference, let's say for the Tories or the Labour or the Liberal Democrats, there'll be a group of people there who are on the BitNation equivalent of those three parties, saying that what they've been doing now for 3 or 4 years, they have all the data, they have all the members, they have all the statistics, they know exactly what they want. Could this be a tool, even if you're not fully a citizen of the BitNation? Can it be used as a parallel simulation to give folks political say in the ongoing process?
Yeah, I mean, one of the services that we offer is diplomacy, actually. And when we say diplomacy, we mean that in a sort of public awareness type of way, right? A little bit like Amnesty International raise awareness on different topics. So we will definitely do the same for our, customers or citizens, whatever you want to call it. And so, for instance, if Bangladesh bans Bitcoin, like it just happened recently, then we reach out to our ambassador network to try to influence the course of events, to make countries more Bitcoin friendly, to enhance adoption.
Okay, so the ambassador from BitNation.co shows up in Bangladesh, and they're influencing, lobbying to the best of their ability on behalf of Bitcoin. So it's a global lobbyist also for the common good of Bitcoin. Now, I'm thinking
That's right.
There's, in Chile, there was a libertarian group that got together, and they created Gulch. And this is based, of course, on the Ayn Rand books, which are touchstones for the libertarian crowd. And this Gulch fell apart almost immediately. And are you aware of that project? And where did they fail that BitNation.co could succeed?
Yeah, I'm very aware of it. Actually, I was in Galskov last year visiting it. I've heard, of course, about the stories. I only heard one side of the story, so I need to hear both sides, you know, to know what actually happened. But so I can't really speak to that. But I think the failure in Galskov is in the sense that it was very centralized and top down. You know.
But that seems to be completely against the ethos of Ayn Rand. You're saying it's centralized, top-down authoritarianism. I thought that's what they were trying to escape.
Yeah.
It becomes, I think, the libertarians, if you put them all on an island somewhere, you'll end up with Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, that is a good analogy.
So there's no distributed.
Yeah.
BitNation is distributed.
Exactly.
It's on the blockchain.
Yes, and it's also non-geographical, right? We don't require people to move anywhere. We don't require them to change their lifestyle or to live together. Any of those
Speaking
things.
of living together, you can actually get married on the blockchain on bitnation.co, correct?
That's right. Yeah, we're going to do our first blockchain marriage pretty soon at the Walt Disney conference, Bitcoin conference.
So conceivably, Stacy and I could marry again. Because we're married already, we could get married again.
Yeah.
Do I need to get married again, or we can just move our marriage over to the blockchain?
Yeah, you can just renew your vows, right?
Renew our vows.
Yeah.
How about divorce
We can
on
do
the
it
blockchain?
now on the show.
Is divorce more or less difficult once you're coded on the blockchain? As a guy, it sounds scary. Like my betrothment is on this blockchain. It's an open ledger for eternity. Sounds scary. Can I get divorced easily on the blockchain?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to handle that is to file a smart contract when you get married. So essentially, we'd have a clause for divorce.
Okay, so the marriage contracts, there could be thousands of different types of marriage contracts.
Absolutely.
Could be for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Absolutely.
It could revolutionize love.
Yes, exactly.
And relationships.
Absolutely.
That's the core of the BitNation.
Yes, I know. Isn't it beautiful?
So the community is coming together in new and remarkable ways. We're going to track this story very carefully to see how the BitNation.co proceeds. Thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Susanne Tarkowski Tempelhof. She's the founder and CEO of BitNation.co. If you'd like to get in touch, tweet us at Keiser Report. Until next time, bye, y'all.